Well, let's start here. I don't know if anybody in Washington slept this weekend. On Saturday, we saw two massive events that could reshape the globe as we know it. Let's see. Let's start with what President Trump announced when he announced the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Now, these are two nuclear-armed nations that were teetering on the edge of nuclear war. At some time, the United States and China, our biggest economic rival, struck a trade deal to slash tariffs and cool the economic tensions because we were about to go full nuclear economically with that country. So let's talk about India and Pakistan first. Situation in Kashmir has been a powder keg for decades. These two countries have been at each other's throat for forever. And it started in, the 1940s when the British were like, we're not going to be a colony anymore. And they leave, and then everybody starts to go to hell. So they have been fighting over this disputed region ever since. Now, fast forward to April 22nd of this year, and there was this horrible terrorist attack in Kashmir, in this province that is now administered to by the Indians. It left 26 people dead. And India points the finger at Pakistan, saying, you back the attackers. Pakistan denied it, but India's not buying it, and blah, 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 blah. Everything starts to escalate, and they launch Operation Sindoor. They hit what they called a terrorist infrastructure inside of Pakistan. Well, Pakistan says, that's not terrorist. And they retaliate with a drone and missile strike. And by last week, we were talking about air bases getting hit, civilian casualties piling up. Both sides of the issue were accusing each other of, you're violating the 1960 treaty of, whatever. This wasn't a border skirmish. This was a serious escalation, and the most serious escalation of anything in the region since 1971. Both countries, nuclear. Okay. Then out of nowhere, because last week Donald Trump said, I'm not going to get involved. It's between them. And I'm like, okay, all right. I like the fact that we're not getting involved, but they have nuclear weapons. Should we get involved just a little bit? Saturday, Donald Trump comes out and he posts on Truth Social, after a long night of talks mediated by the United States, I'm pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. Congratulations to both countries on using common sense and great intelligence. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance had been working the phones for 48 hours, talking to the prime minister in both Pakistan and in India, and even Pakistan's army chief. Pakistan's prime minister then publicly thanked Donald Trump for his pivotal role, but then India starts to get a little cagey, and the prime minister is like, Donald Trump, what? We're in White House, huh? So I don't know what happened. But here's where it gets even more messy. Hours after the ceasefire is announced, explosions start to rock in Kashmir again. And India's like, hello? So Pakistan, I don't remember which one started. Well, one of them started it. Now they're both blaming each other for starting it and everything. By Sunday morning, everything, started to look like it was spiraling out of control and everybody was pointing fingers. Trump doubles down and he says, you stop all this and I'll substantially increase trade with both of you guys and we'll mediate a long-term solution for Kashmir. Okay, so now I guess we're back in the... I don't even know if this guy ever sleeps. When does this guy ever sleep? So while he's doing that, he also hammered out a 90-day trade truce with Beijing. The details are coming out today, but the U.S. cutting tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%. And the world goes, okay. China, in return, drops their trade from 125% to 10%. So the trade war has been strangling both of us. It's been hurting them much more than it's been hurting us. But it's not going to be pretty if we don't stop all of this. And it looks like the president was right about all of this so far. White House calls it substantial progress toward tackling our $1.2 trillion trade deficit with China. The talks started on Friday. They were wrapped up yesterday, and today the dollar is climbing. The global markets are breathing a sigh of relief. And maybe we're past a lot of this bad. I don't know. Now, could I put my tinfoil hat on here for just a second? Something I talked to you about last week. I asked you, is China, were they doing a proxy war on us? You know, were they using Pakistan to stir things up with India? Because India was starting to side with the United States, and we were talking about doing more business with India and more manufacturing in India. And India is very important to China. So did Beijing get involved and kind of push, we've been talking to India. Pakistan, you would not believe, they called you fat. I don't know what was going on, but it coincided with all of the tariff stuff. And then the weekend that we have all the tariff stuff resolved is the same time that Pakistan and India get back together. Now, they were out of order, but I don't. It's just, I just don't believe in coincidence when it comes to global economics. I mean, it's a chessboard. And Donald Trump is playing 15D chess. But is China? Of course they are. They play Go. Of course they're doing things as well. I don't know if that happened, if China was involved. But I'm just like, today, can we just go, okay. All right, that's pretty good. That's good. Because now, I guess, we can all get back to business without fear of nuclear war, at least from those two countries. And maybe the tariff thing is over with China. Can we all just relax for a minute, please? Maybe. We'll see how it works out. Now, there's something else that happened. Where do I start? Do I start with the airplane or do I start with the drug companies? Okay, so Donald Trump is going to sign an executive order on drug companies, and there are moments, it's rare, but it's unnerving because it's rare, when you realize the ideas that made you who you are now in conflict inside of yourself. And you're like, wait, hold on just a second. Wait a minute. I thought I was for, now I don't know. I found myself in one of those moments yesterday when I heard about the latest. President Trump has just announced he's signing an executive order to slash prescription drugs by up to 80% by trying what Americans, pay for, and trying to get the drug companies to charge us the same that they charge all the other countries. Okay? He's calling it the most favored nations pricing policy. And that sounds really good, and I don't like things that usually have nice, snappy little names because it's like, the Patriot Act. Well, I'm a patriot. I'm for that. On the surface, this feels like a big win. We have been ripped off. Donald Trump is right about one thing. We've been ripped off over and over and over again. Do you know that we pay double, triple, and even sometimes 4 times as much as what other nations pay for the exact same drugs for the same companies? Now, I have made this observation for years, saying, oh, wait a minute, you don't like that? Well, no, but we're the richest people in the world. We're the richest people ever on earth. You're not even going to miss it, America. We're just paying more tax. We're just paying our fair share to help the rest of the world that is so very poor. Oh, you don't like that? Oh, well, then maybe you're not for progressive income tax, because that's what this is. We are paying for all of the research so the rest of the world can have cheap drugs. Okay, I don't like that. Good. Now let's follow through. How come you like the same system when it comes to income tax? If it's wrong one place, it's wrong every place. No, but I'm not the richest person in the pile. Oh, so it has everything to do not with principles, but your situation. Okay. Now, with that being said, I really don't like socialism. I don't know if you've heard that. The rumor is going around. I don't like socialism. What is socialism? Socialism is taking money from other people and having the government decide who to give it to. And in this case, socialized medicine would be the government getting involved and saying, you're only going to charge us this. That's not the free market. However, I would like to present the other side. I'm completely conflicted, but I would like to present the other side because I've always been on the side of absolutely not. And I think I'm still there. But let me give you both sides in 60 seconds. Buying a house today feels a little like online dating. You know, you swipe through the listings. No, maybe. And you fall in love with one. You show up, meet it in person, and it has black mold, a haunted garage, and a neighbor named Snake Eye, who is like, hey, you move in, we could start a band. No, I think I need a better real estate agent. Real estate agents I trust is like having a friend who knows all of the good matches. It's a matchmaker. They know, about the square footage, sure, but they know everything else they need to know as well. They're vetted, they're experienced. The best part, they don't work for some huge corporate monolith that treats you like a number. They work for you and they listen to you to get you into the right home at the right price without losing your sanity in the process. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, don't roll the dice. Use realestateagentsitrust.com. It's not just a name, it's a life decision that doesn't end with regret and you playing in some band. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com. 10 seconds, station ID. Okay, so we pay double, triple, even quadruple the price that the rest of the world pays for the same exact drugs from the same exact companies. Why? Well, a couple of reasons. One, we've subsidized the entire world. The global pharmaceutical industry makes profit, not in Paris or Toronto or Berlin or any place else, but in Des Moines and Cleveland and Phoenix. You and I, we're the piggy bank. Everyone else is the freeloader. Trump came out and said, no more. And today he's signing an executive order, which could we start to codify anything in what? Hello, Congress, are you there? So what he wants is we'll be the lowest paying nation, or we at least will pay what the lowest paying nation pays. Whatever you're charging them, it's reciprocal. Whatever you're charging them, you're going to charge us. Now, it's really hard to not cheer for that. I think I'm really for that. And here's why. This is not the free market system. This is everyone who is vying for a house, okay, is negotiating for their house, except for you. You're the only one that is like, no, I'm going to pay full price. And that the seller of the house is like, wait a minute, I got this chump coming in and he insists on paying full price. I'm going to raise the price of the house. That's right. I'm going to pay it because I can afford to pay it. And I'm going to help all the other people on the block. No, chump. Chumpity chump. No, bad idea. Negotiate. That's part of the free market. The system has been broken for a long time because lobbyists have protected it with pharmaceutical companies. And wouldn't you know, we have an all-encompassing broken healthcare system. All the insurance companies, nobody cares what their drugs cost unless you pay for them. I don't care if this is a very expensive medication. I don't know, is the insurance company paying for it? Oh, well, yes. I don't care. Okay, all of us say that. That's the problem. Now, when you're rationing insulin or splitting pills or just flat out dying because you can't afford the medicine, that's a problem if you're paying much more. For instance, there are medicines that we're paying $2,000 for that the Japanese pay $20 for. Why? Why aren't we paying $20 too? So I believe in the free market. I believe, governments shouldn't price set. I'm pretty strong on that one. I don't think government price control is really good. And I think every time the government does something like this, it's like the guy who's sitting next to you as you're driving on a windy road and they're like, I don't know, you're going so fast and you're going to miss this turn, and they reach over and they grab the wheel and you're like, no, and you're both off a cliff. That's usually what happens when the government starts to backseat drive or drive in the passenger seat, as you're driving the car. Okay? History isn't kind to ideas like this. Remember the 1990s, Hillary Clinton? I've got a vision for healthcare. Yeah, that worked out, huh? Top-down, centralized. It's not arrogant. It's just unbelievably arrogant. And one of her smaller programs that she pushed for was a federal mandate forcing vaccine makers to make childhood immunizations to the U.S. government at deeply discounted prices so every child could get vaccinated. Sounds pretty noble. What happened? Well, the people who made the vaccines went, you know what, I'm just going to get out of the market. It's not worth it anymore. Uh-oh. So they couldn't make a profit anymore, so the supply chain withered, and the red tape increased, and shortages swept the country, and then the government had to step in. Wait a minute, so the government stepped in to fix the problem, and then it didn't work, so the government had to step in and give me the wheel! That's what they're doing. They step in, and more regulation, and then more subsidies, and then more control, and then you no longer have a free market system. That's where we're at right now. Because eventually, the government that broke the system becomes the only thing keeping the system alive. That's not the free market. That's dependency. That's also insanity. So what do you do with Donald Trump's executive order? Is it a betrayal of the free market principles? Or is it a necessary course correction in a market that hasn't been free in decades? Is what he's doing actually fixing the system because he's like, I'm going to show up and negotiate because everybody else is negotiating? So the biggest buyer of pharmaceuticals, why do we just go, yeah, whatever you want to charge. What do you want to charge us? That sounds good. Maybe you want to charge us more? That sounds good too. Want to charge us less? I don't really care. We're not negotiating. Why would we do that as the biggest buyer of drugs? Because that's the problem here. The government's already involved. Maybe we should get the government out of it entirely. More in a minute.
This is Glenn Beck.
NMLS 182334. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 starts at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 800-906-2440 for details about credit costs and terms.
You remember that whole adulting thing that we were all for? We signed up for, and we're like, oh, I'm an adult. Nobody mentioned it would include paying $6,000 a month, just to exist. With the mortgage, the credit cards, the student loans, all the subscriptions you can't remember signing up for, and you're like, wait a minute, I signed up what? It all adds up fast. Here's the thing. You don't have to drown in those interest payments. You can actually restructure your debt for lower monthly payments and be able to breathe again with American Financing. This is a family-owned company that treats you like you're a human being. They don't look at you as a number. And the past 2 decades, they've been helping people exactly like you get their financial house into a better place. They're not trying to trick you into more debt. They're trying to get you out of debt, whether through refi, your whole situation, or debt consolidation, or just a good old-fashioned strategy. If your wallet feels like a shriveled raisin in the desert month after month, you need to call AmericanFinancing.net. AmericanFinancing.net, 800-906-2440. 800-906-2440.
Head over to glennbeck.com for all your Glenn Beck needs. Get the newsletter we use every single day. It's glennbeck.com.
So I find myself in this situation today, agreeing in theory and yet disagreeing in theory. When we're talking about the president coming in and saying, hey, I'm negotiating for drug prices. Okay, wait, hold it, wait. I don't like this because I don't want the government involved in any of this. However, if I don't like the government involved in any of this, then we shouldn't have Medicare, Medicaid, and socialized anything. The government should be out of it. And that's where we have been as a nation, or I'm sorry, as a movement. Most of us have been, okay, can't do this. I don't want this. But that requires us to debate and win the debate on the bigger issue. Nowhere in the Constitution is this allowed for the government not to negotiate for drug prices. Nowhere in the Constitution is the government allowed to do socialized medicine. Okay? So if you want to have that argument, I am so with you on that. Let's have that argument. Let's have that argument.
It's a fun argument.
Right. Now, if you want to just have the argument that, well, the president shouldn't negotiate on our behalf. Wait a minute. As a taxpayer, if you're going to, can we just not keep getting hit in the face by everybody around the world? They're all, this is so complex. This makes my brain hurt. Everyone else is negotiating. We're not. So we're getting screwed. We're paying $2,000, for a drug that the rest of the world is paying $20 for a drug. However, let's remember, the rest of the world is on socialized medicine. They may pay $20 for a drug, but you still can't get that drug over there because it's socialized medicine.
And of course, this is a big part of one of the reasons, why we pay a premium is we generally get access to these drugs first.
Correct.
The GLP-1s are a great recent example of this, all the weight loss injection drugs.
Yeah.
These are, corporations made them. In fact, not even just American corporations. Novo Nordisk is not an American corporation. They're the ones that do Ozempic and that. And when they went into shortage, which they did when they came out because everybody wanted them, we were like the only country getting them, right? We got them before everybody else in the globe. Now, whether you like them or not is not the point here. The point is that these new drugs tend to come to markets, just like, by the way, every other product. When you come out with a new product, where do they go? To where people will spend more for them, right? So they came here, and they didn't go anywhere else. Again, do you want that? You might not.
So here's the thing. As long as the government doesn't get into negotiating drugs for everyone, personally, you mean the socialized medicine thing that the government is doing, the Obamacare? You can't get that drug? Hey, guess what? Over here in the free market, you get off of Obamacare, you can have that drug.
Yeah.
If you make all of the system actually do what it will do eventually, which is destroy people's lives and become the VA for everybody, where everybody is like, I think I'd rather kill myself than go through this anymore. Then maybe you have a chance of ending it, because as long as they're not negotiating for the part of the market that is semi-free, so it's not free because of all the government restrictions on, healthcare and insurance. But if insurance, maybe we could get that free, and then that system would work and we'd be able to have the drugs. Yeah. But right now, I don't know why we have to have this broken system and not negotiate and look at the front, not with, supervision, not with 2010 vision, but with a 2020 vision, and look ahead and go, oh, I see that. All of the bridges are out right in front of the car. Because we're collapsing because we can't afford everything. And so nobody's willing to argue that we shouldn't have all of these socialized programs. We've got to get people off these programs. Nobody's willing to do it. So if this move actually saves a lot of money and saves us from the abyss, even for a couple of weeks, isn't it worth doing? Especially if it makes things worse for those who are for socialized medicine and makes the free market a little more attractive.
Well, I mean, there's a very long litany of reasons as to why, and as you mentioned, it's not really something the government in the United States is supposed to have a role in.
No, I'm with you on that. I think we have to just agree that the simple answer is no. You shouldn't do any of this. None of this is constitutional.
Yeah, and I guess part of it is just going back to tracing why we opposed it when Bernie Sanders would propose something like this, right? Why did we oppose it when they tried to do it with Medicaid initially? There's a lot of reasons why. One of the reasons why is when you have a big, giant 5,000-pound gorilla like the U.S. government and all the money that they spend on this, you wind up with major market manipulation and distortion. And that is a problem. Of course, one of the reasons why our medical system is good, if you believe it's good, by the way, we should also note that it's an interesting kind of confluence of events when we're sort of embracing the idea. I know you've talked about it a lot with RFK Jr., for example, that one of the reason why we have so much sickness is because of pharmaceuticals. Now, that's not my belief, but that is a belief of a lot of people in the movement currently. And if that is true, why would we want to lower prices on these pharmaceuticals that we all say are causing all of our, long-term disease? I don't have an answer to that part. That's something that I think if you're in that wing of the movement.
I think this is why so many people who have had really strong values for so long are waking up every day and going, I don't know how to feel about this.
Right. It's a confusing time, I will say.
Because everything is broken. You go to, that argument, that's the next level.
It's another one.
That's the next level. And you're like, well, why? Because the whole thing is broken. And you're like, yeah, good point. I don't really, wow. I mean, we're so deep down the road of there are no good options because we haven't made good. You know why we don't have nice things, kids? Because we break everything we have.
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
Yeah, and it's like you come to that. I was thinking about this a little bit because one of the way we've talked about these policies, this is not a new policy. Now, it is new through an executive order, which is another layer on top of this, because obviously, if these policies could be done legally through an executive order, my belief is both Barack Obama and Joe Biden would have done them. Yeah. They didn't even they didn't seem to even care whether they were legal, and they still didn't attempt this. We will see what the courts say, of course, about that. But
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that.
I don't think you can pout your way out of this, Glenn.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Make it go away. Make it go away. I mean, it's so clear.
It's true, right?
We stop just violating the Constitution, and that means we have to go back 100 years.
You're
now.
right, and
which, by the way, you know who started Mother's Day? Woodrow Wilson.
We didn't even get the Mother's Day Woodrow Wilson rant this year.
No,
yet.
You didn't.
Hopefully, that's coming later on in the program. But when you go back and you say, okay, let's trace this back in conservative thought. Conservatives have opposed this policy forever. Why? Maybe they're just wrong. I mean, look, conservatives are wrong on stuff, right? Maybe the movement has been wrong on this the entire time.
No.
When other left-wing people have been proposing it. And maybe they were.
No.
One of the reasons, though, one of the real arguments from conservatives on this was to say, hey, we're going to lose medical innovation. Right? That's one of the main central arguments. When you distort a market like this, you wind up giving all sorts of incentives that you're not going to see coming on day one, that wind up destroying innovation in the medical field. I will say the movement doesn't seem all that interested in innovation in the medical field these days.
Well, you know what?
They're not talking about that.
Because I played this out of my head driving in today. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me add that layer.
Yeah.
I'm not so worried about that. We're going to have AI and AGI and ASI so soon. It's going to solve all those problems.
That could be. That's not even where I was going with it. I was thinking people aren't really in
I know.
The RFK people
but you're
aren't
going to
as
have
interested in that.
5 years from now.
Right.
You're going to have not even that. You're going to have AI or AGI or ASI that will say, "Oh, you want to fix that? Well, just here, mix this, and you don't even have to go to trials for it. It'll just be right. There will be they're not going to be teams of people working on stuff. It'll be AI.
It could be, yeah. So that's a whole other layer.
It will be. Oh, it will be.
Right. I mean, it's still.
afraid.
I mean, and maybe AI completely solves this. I still think, though, as an old timey capitalist, that that the profit pursuits
get some lemonade there in your locker.
Right. That profit, the pursuit of profit is an incentive for innovation, right? So I do think that is a long-term positive.
It is
for the market, and for innovation generally. And these things, look, you can even if you don't like medications, you probably acknowledge that some of these have been very positive. So you probably still want at least what you would consider the good innovations.
Yeah.
So, look, I understand what you're saying. It's not I understand why a lot of people are torn on this, and I think I can see where you're coming from. It's not one that I feel torn on. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think we should be in the middle of this.
Either.
Well,
but here's the thing.
You're being a little bit more open to it, which I understand.
Because the one thing I'm sure of, I'm not sure of anything anymore.
Right.
Okay?
That's
I don't
other
have
than that,
any
everything's
idea
fine.
anymore. Look, if the goal is to centralize power and control the pharmaceutical industry from Washington, I am 100% slam on the brakes. Now, I'm not against slamming on the brakes here for the other goal. But if the goal is for the power of the president to break up a corrupt pricing monopoly, to give Americans leverage again, because we've already violated the free market so horribly because the government has no place at the table, then is that pragmatic and is that principled? I don't know. I just know this. The market has to be free, okay? But if the players inside, competition has to be protected. Okay, you have to have competition, accountability, and consequences. We don't have any of those things right now. None of those things. That's not a true free market. That's a casino where the house always win and you and I always lose. That's what this is. So is this move going to reset the table? What if it forces companies to negotiate again, to compete again, to innovate again? I don't know. Usually that wouldn't happen. But we're looking at a time where the whole country is just being sucked into a giant crap hole. And not because of Donald Trump, but because of what everyone has done for the last 100 years. The chickens are coming home to roost. So now how do you reset it? I don't know. Here's what and I think you should use this as a motto. The only thing I'm certain of is that I'm not certain of anything anymore. Because everything... You cannot just blanket say, I'm a free market capitalist. Okay, great. So am I. Now let's take that apart and see what that means. Where did we go wrong? So what should you really be for? And until you're willing to say, I'm for that and only that, which will dig us into a deeper hole, should we not be pragmatic? Or is that selling out? Don't know, haven't dealt with these issues before. So we'll have more on that coming up in just a second. First, let me tell you about, most of us worry about deadlines, what's for dinner, whether it's the neighbor's dog digging hole in our yards again, or if it's somehow or another, strangely, one of the neighbor kids. In Israel, they worry about what the next siren means and, that they have 10 seconds to get into a bomb shelter. Imagine that. 50 times a day, that alarm screams through the air in Israel. 50. Moms grabbing their kids, first responders grabbing their gear, people praying this isn't the one that takes everything from them. It's a horrific state, but you can help. I don't want to fight their battles. I don't want to be involved in any of it. I don't, but I do want to support God's chosen people. International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground delivering life-saving support to Israeli first responders who are running out of gear. Flak jackets, rescue bags, armored vehicles. A gift of $150 can equip the people who run toward the danger when the rest of us run away. It's not just charity, it's solidarity. It's standing with Israel when they need us the most. The sirens keep going off. Let's make sure there's somebody ready to answer. Your gift is urgently needed today. Call 888-488-IFCJ, 888-488-IFCJ, or go online to supportifcj.org. That's one word, supportifcj.org.
This is Glenn Beck.
There's a moment when you realize you're just kind of tired of the ups and the downs, the cycle that keeps going on, just kind of starting
Especially
over and
if
over
you're
again.
A prostitute.
That's probably true. Not one, so I wouldn't know. But if you want to lose weight, you might be familiar with this up and down sort of process. This is where Lean comes in. It's a comprehensive weight loss program that gives you access to real medical care, real prescriptions if appropriate, and a real plan, not some generic online course or influencer diet. With Lean, everything starts with a telehealth consultation, and from there, you get a customized treatment plan that is actually for you. You kind of go through this entire process, whether it's medication or another clinical route, whether you're working with real professionals who know what they're doing and who they're focused on, like long-term health or quick fix gimmicks. You don't want that. You want the real stuff. This isn't about chasing a number on the scale. It's about getting your energy back, feeling comfortable in your clothes again, and waking up each day with a little more clarity and confidence. It's an approach that's designed for people who are ready to take control of their health with real sustainable progress. And it makes it different because it kind of brings you through the entire thing. Look, you listen to that whole situation where you're thinking about, how do I lose weight? It's up to you. It's personal, right? And that's what's the most important thing. Get started with 20% off right now. Go to use the code BLAZE20 when you go to takelean.com. Takelean.com. The code is BLAZE20. Takelean.com.
The president is now speaking on the trade deal, the peace deal, and then he's going to do the drug deal. Wait, that sounds bad.
He's doing drug deals. There's a new headline for the media to run with. It's interesting. Every once in a while you get this sort of criticism of Trump that he just sits around inside and watches Fox News all day, and that just is not. I'm not saying he doesn't watch a lot of Fox News. I think he likes Fox News at least at times, but
I was just at the White House. I didn't see it on in any room. Any room.
He does seem familiar with the people on it. Like Jeanine Pirro just got announced. Again, the reason she was on Fox News is because she had a high-level government in New York, a job in law enforcement in New York.
Right.
It's like people forget the first part of it.
Yeah,
you get a big job in law enforcement, then you get the Fox News gig, then you get hired into the Trump administration.
Right.
And people are like, oh, he just keeps hiring broadcasters. No, they had the job because my uncle was a homicide detective in Westchester County in New York. Love the guy. Passed away a few years ago, unfortunately, due to cancer. But when he was there, he worked with Jeanine Pirro on a regular basis and loved her. This is a guy who wanted to solve murders.
Oh, yeah. As a judge, she's good.
Loved her. Mm-hmm. So, the point being, though, what I get out of him is he's really freaking busy. He's doing a lot. I don't think he's just watching TV. I don't think he's hanging out, going to bed at noon like the last president was.
No.
He's pretty busy.
No.
Like it or not, he's pretty busy.
Okay, the China trade deal, the India-Pakistan deal.
There's a lot going on.
The drug deal.
Drug deals.
I mean, when does he sleep? That was just from the last 2 days. And there's more than that. We'll have that coming up.
This is Glenn Beck.